Hi, this is Johnny back again. This time I'm going to show you how to put a SSD card images to Raspberry Pi, which is right here. Is same card because the last time I tried to use one source and CoinOps didn't work. So I have two of them. One is for CoinOps 1 terabyte, and one I'm going to use it for Raspberry Pi. So why not? Because I have 1 terabyte and I want to try some of the 1 terabyte Vemon, and it was created under the Supreme Ultra images. So he add on to Ultra, Super Ultra, and he created 1 terabyte called it Vemon. And right now it's plugged into USB, and I'm going to share the information with you to how I got it working. Now you don't need to plug into Legends Ultimate. I just happen to plug it in, but I'm lazy to unplug it. So instead of using regular monitor, I'm using this one. So bear with me if those of you who doesn't have this, but it's the same idea. So what I did is I burned the images and I tried to boot up to the Raspberry Pi. Now some of you will not have this problem. It should boot up automatic, but mine do not, because I bought this Raspberry Pi long time ago when it first came out. So it doesn't have the latest update, so do not boot up to USB directly. So I'm gonna go ahead and show you how to update your Raspberry Pi so that you will able to boot up directly to the USB. So what I did is after I burned the images, I copied the SD card boot up file into a 32 fat SD card. So let me pop that out and show it to you real quick. So let me just pop it out and boot it up and show you that it does not boot up if you don't put this in here, because my do not boot up to USB flash drive at this moment. So if you have the same problem, then you will do the step that I will show you after this video. So let me go ahead and show you that it do not boot up to it. Now I also did not plug in a two controller. I plug in this one for the hard drive, the SSD card, and then that white cable is for this one. It had to be the left side. Okay, so don't get confused. Let me unplug this one so I won't get confused. This is the left side that you need to plug into Raspberry Pi, and then this is the HDMI that go into right here, and this is the power. This is the power, and this is a ice tower. You want to use ice tower because it gives you the best cooling for the Pi 4. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you that I'm going to switch it over. Now in order for you to able to use a controller directly from Legends without have to without have to plug in a second controller and configure it twice. So what you do is you first go to the setting. Now my version some reason do not support the Raspberry Pi Bluetooth. So even though this is supposed to support Bluetooth, mine doesn't see it. I don't know, it's because of Raspberry Pi 4. So I'm going to do another Raspberry Pi 3 to see what's going on, because the image that I have, Raspberry Pi 3, support the spinner and trackball, and I'll demonstrate that before I put this Pi 3 into this machine and see is it still having an issue. All right, let's go to setting. So in order for it to work, I have to use the one called OTG. Oop, too much. Okay, so I need to start the OTG, but the OTG will not start if Raspberry Pi do not turn on. So let me go ahead and turn on, let me press this A button to show you that it will not work if you see, it does not see it until you power the Raspberry Pi. So let me turn on. Once I turn the Raspberry Pi on, the tower light will come on, and then here it will change to, once it turn on, it will see it. But you have to switch back and forward real quick because see the reason it doesn't work because see it say please insert the card. See my Raspberry Pi 4, which you can see is a Raspberry Pi 4, it do not boot up to SSD card. It's 8 GB, and I guess it's an older version. They need to be updated to the newest firmware too. This is the first time I have to do that. So I'm gonna go ahead and put this 32 gig SD card, which I copy from the 1 TB, and I just format the whole thing FAT32 and just copy the whole thing in here. Not the whole thing, but the boot up SD card file into here. Majority is partition only 250, but this is 32 gig. So it's more space than it needed. Okay, so I'm gonna plug that in, and I'll show you that I'm going to go ahead and insert the SD card in with the system is still on, which is not, it's better off turn it off, but I'm gonna go ahead and take the chance. It's not gonna make a big deal about it. All right, see now the system is booting up, okay, because I put the SD card in it. And so for this to work the first time, if your Raspberry Pi do not work, you need to copy the first partition, which is FAT32, into SD card, and so that way it will boot up. So I didn't reboot the Raspberry Pi. I just demonstrate live, no cutscene. I just plug it directly in, and now if I go back to the other one, let me go back to this to make sure. See, now it say that USB Legends now can be used. So a while ago, if it was not turned on, it won't see it. Let me go back to the. Now it's booting up to the system emulation station. Now this part is going to take a while. Now I boot up the second time, but the first time it will sit there for a long time. So let it sit, let it do its own thing. It won't be boot up this fast, okay? It will actually sit there almost like a minute or two. Now it recognizes it doesn't have any controller plug in, so it's asking you to configure it. But since I have already plugged in the Legends Automate into the Raspberry Pi using this cable, which is plugged into this one right here, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and start configuring. Now, if you want a 2-player to work, do not configure it on both controller, just one of them. So let me pull this back and show you the setup, so you can see both setup information. I need to pull it back more so you can see the controller. Okay. All right, so the controller is on. Now, one thing sad is that the spinner and the trackball does not work on this system. So let me move this one over so it won't be on your way. All right, so it wants me to hold any button, so it recognizes the Act Game Legend. Now I'm gonna do up, down, left, right, and then start button would be P1. Select would be the home key, and then A, B, and then X, Y. Left shoulder would be the Z, the right shoulder would be the C, and then everything else is just nothing. You just hold A button and it says not defined, A button not defined, let go, press it, let go, press it, and then it will just keep on going down until you reach to the bottom where it say the hotkey. You want to enable the hotkey with the you want select to be the default hotkey. So here my select button is this home key, so I'm going to press the select, so it'll be button 16, then I'm going to click OK, and then I'm done. So this is the first time I am using Raspberry Pi 1 TB created by the guy, the community. I do not know his name, but I'll give you the link where I got this information from a YouTube channel called his name is called Retro. Let me give you the correct retro. He go by Retro Gaming Blender. Okay, this guy. It's not focusing. Okay, Retro Gaming Blender. He went through this and he go over how many games is there. So I got his watching his video to see how many game is there. I think there's like 20,000 game, which is a lot. Okay, so if you go to all game, there's 20,186. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and upgrade my Raspberry Pi so that it will boot up directly to USB without me using the SD card, because I wanted to use the full functionality of the SSD, because SSD function faster, load time is faster and everything. So I want to do that. So first we need to go to option and set up the IP address. So we are going to, the arcade game is 2,866 game, and the all game while ago it was 20,186. That's a lot of game. Okay, but it's a 1 terabyte. And now it does have a lot of cool game, but does not have as much as Virtual Man, because Virtual Man, he have 30 atomic wave. The maximum is 30 game, and he only had 26. But he have a lot of cool stuff on this. Daffy, he had 15. Dreamcast, he had 282, which is pretty good size. And 308 is the standard. Naomi, he had 181, so that's a lot. Nintendo DS, 1,985. He had the most Nintendo DS that I've seen so far, because Virtual Man did not have that much. Virtual Man only have like I don't think he had that much. Actually, I have Virtual Man right next to me. Let me see what Virtual Man had. Virtual Man did not have a whole lot. I wound up adding some more to it because I like some of the Virtual Man Nintendo DS hack. Nintendo DS played beautifully on the Raspberry Pi, plus on the virtual screen, because it's a 2-screen game. So if you have a virtual, it will play very nicely. Where's my Nintendo DS? Yeah, the atomic wave that he had was 30 game, and they only have 26. But where's my Dreamcast? He only had 351. Oh, Dreamcast. The Virtual Man had more, I think. But where's my Nintendo DS? Okay, Nintendo DS, he had 857, which I added more because it wasn't 857. Alright, so this one have a lot. So I love Nintendo DS, so that is an excellent. Neo Geo is 146. Everybody always stuck with it's a 145. Everybody, I don't know why they don't want to add more. I mean, there is some more game out there. You could go up to 186, and nobody have done that. So everybody just copy everybody's stuff over. They 274 for PC Engine, that is pretty good. If they separate that, now PC Engine CD, he only have 2, which is not a lot. But PlayStation 275, it's not too bad. But like I say, you cannot put everything in here, you know, because now Saturn, he does have Saturn, it's 308, and that's part of the reason I like this images, because it has stuff that Virtual Man don't have, which is Sega Saturn, and he also have the Nintendo DS, which have a lot of game. And now Nintendo DS, there is 6,000 game out there. I have it somewhere. I don't know where I put it, but I have it somewhere on my hard drive. And I was trying to finish the artwork, but there was 600 more artwork that I need to do. Then I didn't finish it, and I don't know where I put it now. And I think I accidentally formatted my my hard drive. I mean my operating system. At the time I didn't know how to recover the SD card. So yep. So when I have to kill that whole thing and restart. Now this one, he does have a Turbo 16 and PC Engine. Now this is a full set, and I like the idea that he separate the TurboGrafx with the PC Engine. Now Virtual Man did not do that. Virtual Man make it where whatever you put on PC Engine, it will show up in TurboGrafx or TurboGrafx. They are singular. They are not the same game set, but they, for some reason, Vemon thinking it's the same set. We all know that if we are the fan of TurboGrafx, we know they are not the same game set. It need to be separate. But apparently, Vemon put them together, so you can. When I try to separate them, it created a problem. So, but this one he does have it, so that's one another plus for me that I like this. I like the Supreme Ultra. His image have a lot of utility software included. Like if you add some game and you want to create game list with .xml, there's utility for you to do that, and they have wrote a script for it, which is good. It's wonderful because the older version, Raspberry Pi 3B, whenever you add something in a track mode, you could automatically create the XML for you. But the new Raspberry Pi 4, it doesn't do that. So that's one thing that I was kind of disappointed about that. Now SD card, he had 29, I believe. The Sega SD have 32 total, and 32X is correct, 36. So he have all the Sega 32X. 52 game for the that's not a lot, but I don't really play that one that much at all, telling the truth, because we require the. All right, let's go to the option screen, so I could go ahead and put the IP address and show you how I can make it where it will boot up to the SSD card will boot up to SSD without the microSD card. First, we need to set up the Wi-Fi. So we're gonna go to emulation station. And we're gonna head down to, this is not, they always change the menu, so it's hard to find out which one is the correct one to get into. Alright, Bluetooth, Wi-Fi should be the last one in the bottom. Now if you press, when running a game, and if you cannot press the A button to see what kind of mode it is, it's good idea to run the command setting. So I want to go ahead and do that. Okay, so I wanted to launch the menu enable. I want to launch the artwork as well. So let's zoom into that, focus the screen. I apologize if the screen wasn't focused the last time when we were going through the list. I don't know if it was a focus or not. Okay, so I want to enable this because I want to able to press A to get into the screen. Look like he did enable it. So you could check what kind of system. Launch the menu art, yeah, why not? All right, exit out. So like if you playing the game, you press A and you want to see what kind of the core is using, you can't do it if you don't run this command setup. All right, so now he's saying that USB ROM is on and off. So he does have a script to turn it on, so it will boot up to the SSD card. No, we don't have that because I didn't separate the ROM. I didn't separate the ROM with the my whole operating system is on Samsung's SSD, so I'm not going to use that because that's not how I set it up. It's nice to separate them, because if you separate them, you can always take the hard drive, transfer the data quicker, and then put it back in, you know. So I'm gonna go ahead and set up my Wi-Fi connection, but I don't have a keyboard plug-in. So you need to have a keyboard plug-in, otherwise you cannot type in your password. So I'm gonna type in my password, get it connected, get the IP address, and we're gonna go to the computer and run the update so that it will boot up directly to SSD card. So let's go to the computer and let's do that. Okay, we are back here on the add game machine using the monitor and the controller. I'm just borrowing it. It doesn't have to be run on this machine. Like this machine, the spinner and trackball right now at this moment with Raspberry Pi 4 do not work. So I will do a video on Raspberry Pi 3 later on with different images that I know for sure the spinner and trackball does work before I do the video. But right now, this is the IP address that I'm logging to my account. So we did the IP address, but now the problem is, how do we get the other one working? So we're gonna exit out here. Apparently the Ultra have a password we set. So we are going to look for command. A while ago we run the run command to fix the, so when we go directly to anything we could. Now if you have a GPIO shutdown, you have a button that is set up to pin 5 and 6, you could activate, turn the GPI on, and it will do a shutdown. And they have nice file management, all that cool stuff. Okay, make sure I'm focused. Let me go into, it doesn't seem to have it here on this side, so let's get out here. I want to go to raspi-config. Now you could type it from the DOS command prompt, or you could go directly here. We're going to go directly here. I find out that by doing the set password, it doesn't work. You have to do it from here on this version. So we are going to go to number 6, advanced option. Okay. So we're going to do number 6 to change the password so that we could log into. So when you have to go to select and then press A. You have to move your cursor to here before it will work. And this one is not A, it's B. Yeah, it is a little bit. Now we could expand the hard drive so it will use up all my 1 terabyte, because right now it's not using my full terabyte. So if you could expand it so use the whole terabyte. And we could do that later, but I want to make sure that, let me see, expand. Yeah, let's go ahead and expand it, because right now I'm in the wrong option. So let's go ahead and expand the file to make sure you use the whole terabyte instead of, well, let's do that later, because I want you to see it before I do it. Press B. Let's get back out here. Performance update. Now I forgot which one is the correct option. Here you go, password. So it's the first one that we need to select. So let me go back to show you. So it's the system option. Okay, system option. Put your mouse cursor here. The cursor here, and then press B, and then we're gonna do S3 password, change the password for the Pi user. So we're gonna press select here, press B, say OK. Now it's gonna ask for a password. Okay, so if you go down to the bottom of this screen, it's asking for a password, a new password. So we are going to type Raspberry Pi. Okay. So let me get the keyboard out. We are going to type the word Raspberry Pi. So just let you know what I'm typing. So it'll be RAS and then P and then B E R Y. Okay, so we just type that. We're going to press enter, and then it asks you to retype it again. So we're going to type in RASP and then BERRY, and then here we're going to press enter, and now it's back to here again. Okay, and it says it's successful password change. Alright, so the password is done correctly. So we're going to press A. Let's press B. I think it's B. Okay. Now there's one more thing I want to do before I set the hard drive to the maximum. I want to show you before I do it. So I'm going to press F4 on the keyboard to get out here. I don't know if I could do it here. I have to get out first. Let me click finish. Press B, finish. And I want to go ahead and press F4 to show you that how much space do I have. Okay, so right now we are in the DOS prompt, and I'm using right now it say that I'm only using 71%. So it is pretty much it recognized my whole 1 terabyte. So I don't have to do anything. It is recognizing my 1 terabyte. It doesn't. Okay, so I'm good. 98% Celsius, which is that's what you want. You don't want to get anything higher. And so anything more than 48 Celsius, you're in trouble. It will. And this is a Supreme Ultra by Supreme team who created this. Now we can easily type the command here, but I don't want to type the command here because I want to do it. Now there's other people who would do a password like set PASS word. We don't need to do it. We're going to go to the computer now and try to get into Putty again, see if it works. If it doesn't, then we probably will have to come back here. Okay, we are back in the computer. I open up the Putty. We're going the one that I just saved. I'm going to go ahead and click on the 110, click on load, and now we have the correct information, SSH. We're going to go ahead and click open. Okay. Alright, let's test to see if the password change does work or not. We're going to type in PI for pi, and the Raspberry password will be RASPBERRY. Enter. Alright, see, it went in. So you will have to reset your password in order to get into the Raspberry Pi. So the first command we're going to type is sudo apt get update yes. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and press enter, and we are going to try to get the information. While that one is running, we are going to open my note on the side, and I'm going to run another command. So do this on your own risk, because I do not know it will damage your image. Some of the older image, like this is a 1 year old image, and by running the update, it could damage your images. But I'm taking a risk because I need to update my Raspberry Pi 4, so it will boot up to USB. So right now, apparently it's not booting up to my USB. So I need to do this update. So if those of you who have had this problem, this is a step you need to do. If you don't have a problem and you don't need to boot up from an SD card, then you don't need to do this. So now I'm going to say sudo RPA update, press enter. Okay. Now it's telling you what is the current version. Mine is the current version 138AL. My latest version is 138AL. So it's supposed to be the current version. The current is April 29 to 21. And the last update was September 3, 2020, last year. So it's up to date. So it's the same version. Interesting, but it does not boot up to SSD card, which is kind of weird. Okay, so what I wrote down here would be the same on your description, because this was the version that you're supposed to see, and it's the same thing. Okay, but I'm just gonna go ahead and run the update anyway, just to do I need to? Yeah, might as well. I don't care. If it damaged my image, no big deal. I just recreate the image. Just make sure you back it up, okay? If it damaged this image, no big deal. Okay. All right. It still shows that the latest version is the same. This one and the one before I run it, so it's the same. So I don't really need to do any update. All right, let's go back to the machine. Let's just take the SD card and reboot it. See if it automatic work. That I don't need to do all this, but this is how you set up your change your password using the command that I just showed you. And now we're gonna go back to the app game and see if we could boot up without it. Maybe you just need, first time probably need the SD card, then the second time doesn't. Now let me show you what the SD card, what I'm referring to. So let me go to my, yeah, the video capture right now is trying to save and it's not turning off. So I'm having some, because I can't minimize it, and it's trying to save the video that I just recorded, but it won't shut off until I finish. Okay, so what I want to show you is I just bought another 5 GB because I went out of space again on my 12 TB. So I bought a Seagate this time, and what I did is I downloaded the images and I copied some of the file over, but I think I didn't successfully. I just stopped it because I wanted to do this video first. So I unzipped like 635 or 39 images, and then it created this one. And this one, the size of this image is 637 GB. So it doesn't use up the whole terabyte, you only use 71%. And then you burn these images to something bigger than you know, 1 TB. More likely there's no 637 GB SD card out there, so I just use the 1 TB. And then I just copy this information from the SD card. I copy it from the images and then I put it into SD card, and that's all I did. And then we could check to see if this one have overclock or not. Let's look at the bottom, because most of the time the overclock should be somewhere over here. Okay, so it's using 17, a little bit overclock. It's not really, it's not overclocked to a 21,000. It's barely overclocked. It's only 1700. But I prefer to like overclock it. So yeah, so this is barely, it is a little bit overclocked, but not really a whole lot. All right, let's go back to the computer. I mean to the app game. Okay, I finally figured out why it wasn't booting up directly to the image using SSD card. Was because here's the SSD card that I bought from Samsung. The reason it won't work in my case was because you don't want to plug your controller or your keyboard in, just the hard drive, and you do have to boot up with the SD card. Now the SD card, I burn the image directly here. Basically is a 1 TB, and this is like 108 with the card, so it's cheaper than to buy an SD card 1 terabyte. So this is only like a 32 terabyte. So I copy, after the burn, I copy the boot up image that I could see from the computer to the SD card, and I use eFAT. Or you could format to FAT32. I think eFAT will work too. So maybe it's best to put it in the FAT32 because this is a 32 gig. So I format FAT32. Yeah, it is FAT32. And then when I don't plug the keyboard or the other stuff, then it boot up to the image. So as you can see over here, the image is boot up and is asking me to set up the controller. So that part I just did it. I didn't bother to do that because I think I did that before in my previous video. Now this is a very good images because it's a supreme images, and somebody added the Vemon in here. So this image is created by the guy, but since I boot up without the second screen, I don't know if would it have dual screen in the one in the back. So I'm just gonna go ahead and see if I could reboot it again and see if this time will work, because I think when you first boot up, you need to know exactly where's the hard drive, and then once that's done, then you could reboot it again with everything plugged in. So let me do a restart the system. Yes. And let's see if this one I have automatic plug and play where the second screen will show up with a mark here. So far it's booting up. Last time it booted up and it stayed in the black screen forever. So what I recommend is just don't plug anything in. If you have that problem where it doesn't boot up directly to the USB drive either. So yeah, so now everything plugged in is good. You know exactly where the hard drive is and it's booting up great. Now I'm gonna test another one because I have the same problem. Last time I know it boot up just fine and now it doesn't boot up. So I'm gonna try to see if I can get this other one to work as well. Oh, it does have two screens, as you can see. It says Supreme on it. So I believe if I was to start a game, it will probably have a marquee on the top. So let's go ahead and let it boot up. Now I find out that, I know people in the video say that the system will boot up to the USB, and I have done it before, but for some reason there must be some changes that Raspberry Pi did, because now they do have a 64-bit images officially announced, so that you could actually so maybe in the future they could get more game working, because there is a 64-bit out there now that Raspberry Pi have officially released. It's not a beta version no more. Okay, so I started the game, but I don't see a marquee. I mean, you might have to turn it on. So it doesn't have any marquee showing up on the second screen on this image. Yeah, there's no marquee show up. So I don't think it's either it doesn't support it or it doesn't have it activated. But yeah, this is a very cool images. It's unique and it's pretty nice. So I'm gonna keep it and use it for my future build when I modded my countercat. I got a couple of them, so let's go ahead and start going through them and see, so you guys will see what you want to do to build yours, because you could use the SSD, or you could use this kind of SSD card, which is this one's the most expensive one because it's supposed to be the fastest, and I believe it have Dreamcast Mini, the the fully loaded, you have every game Dreamcast that you dream of. Everything here, Japan, American, it's all here. But the problem is I'm having problem getting it boot up. So I'm gonna see would that be the same problem, because I have the same problem with this one, and I redid this image like 3 times. I know it worked one time, and I'm like, what happened? Why it stopped working? And I couldn't figure out why. So hopefully this video will help you guys as well, help me. So I'm gonna go ahead and press get out of the game and exit out of the game. Huh, I'm not able to get out of the game. So this image have some kind of configuration. It's not the same, because my select and start does not exit out of the game. Alright, I'm just gonna turn the machine off for now since it worked. Okay, so let me show you what I'm gonna do and see if this is the same problem that you having as well. Okay, so first I'm going to unplug the everything from the USB side. Okay, so unplug both of this. I don't want it to get confused which one is the hard, which one is the drive. So I'm taking this one. We know it worked now. So what you do is just burn the 1 terabyte. It takes forever to download. Just download it and burn it on. Make sure you have enough space to unzip it, because the problem I have was I didn't have enough space to unzip it, and I have to move it to another computer and use a different hard drive to unzip it. So make sure you have enough. Then take your SD card that belongs to that machine and put it together so you won't get lost. So I'm going to stick that with this one. So what I do is I put a tape around it, and so I just temporarily, because I haven't built a cabinet yet that use Raspberry Pi. I know I have 2 Raspberry Pi side by side right there, but I haven't built it yet. I'm just still working on the images. So I'm gonna put, because I don't sell my cabinet, I just build it for my own hobby. So I haven't built those, but a lot of people prefer the, you know, about the image and image information. So that's why I work on the image more than I did on my own cabinet. Okay, so I'm going to put the 32 gig FAT32, because this 32 you only can format as a FAT32 anyway. Alright, so you just keep it as FAT32, and that's how the image recognize it. So this is plug in. Okay, this is the only cable that is plugged in, and SD card in there. And we got 2 monitor and a power. This is power, video 1, video 2. We're gonna go ahead and turn it on if I can find the power. And then we're gonna plug the controller in last. Okay, so want to make sure that it boot up to the boot up. So let's see if it boot up, because this one I'm having problem it booting up, because it does not recognize it at all. And I remember one of the images does have the Dreamcast, but I cannot figure out which one. So hopefully this one will work. Probably I'm having a problem with that one. I'm re-downloading the image. I forgot to save it, so apparently I do not really know what's inside. It looks like it's a Dreamcast image, because it only have Dreamcast in here, but I don't know this card is defective or not, because when I was trying to transfer the file out, 2 files, it cannot, it's there, but it does not want to transfer. It's like the image is not good. So I think maybe this card that I bought it get very hot too, and I didn't like that. So I don't know, am I still able to return it, because I have it for almost a month already, and I don't think if I could return this one. Okay, so it doesn't look like this one will boot up. at all. Okay, so there is a mount. This one does have a problem, so I need to look into it. Now, this one is also another one that I will refer you to. So if you're trying to figure out which one should you get, this one is a SAN disk, and it's a SAN disk, and it's a 1 terabyte. And this one have, now some of the images like I think Dreamcast will work on 512, but this one I don't think it will fit on 512, so I put it on the 1 terabyte because some images they didn't compress it small enough that you could use it in the images. So, and here's the boot up SD card. Now I'm going to demonstrate that this thing will not boot up without the SD card. And I used 2 Raspberry Pi. I used the new one that I bought back here. Okay, I used the new one, which have the ice towel heatsink. I moved the direction. The cable used to be on here, so I took all the 4 screw out and then, you know, like turn it this way, so that way it's closer to the pin, because otherwise you have to go underneath down here and come out from that hole and come here. So I prefer to do it this way. It's easier to plug it in, and the cable is not long, it's short. So I recommend to turn this around so you don't have problem plug it in to it. And the book tell you how to plug it in. I use the pin number 2, 1, 2, and then 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 is for the ground. The black is for the ground. I use this one thinking that maybe this one have the newest software, so it will boot up directly to the USB. So for example, I'm going to turn this off and take the SD card out, and it still will not boot up to it. It requires you to have the SD card. It's going to ask you, please insert the SD card. See, it does not work. Okay, so this one do not work. So both of them was doing the same thing. It do not work. So I went back to the old one, which I have the button set up, which is higher than the other one. So that one definitely I need to redo the image. I don't know, is it because now this one I didn't forget the SD card. That one I did. So don't know why I forgot the boot up SD card. You always want to boot up SD card, even though the images it burn to this machine. When you plug it back into the computer, you will see the boot up partition. Copy everything inside the boot drive and copy it to the root directory of the SD card. Okay, now this one is the one with so let me demonstrate without the SD card, so you could see yourself that this do not have SD card, and we are going to demonstrate that do not work without the SD card. So but there is another way to do it, but you still have to boot up the SD card. Well, SD card just boot up, and then it will recognize the USB, so you don't have to configure the USB like we do with the Virtual Man's images. He have a script that you will run the USB. His is a little bit different. You could also have it boot directly too, but his partition where your data is in another partition. I'm gonna put this in, and so you can actually see. The way I like it is I like it to see the second hard drive and using FAT32. So that way, anytime I want to upgrade or transfer file, or if the SD card go bad, I could reburn the image without having to redo all the ROM, because it takes forever to transfer the ROM into directly through the network or to the. I just put the SD card inside. All right. It was asking for SD card, so I just put it in, and this one is using the SanDisk. Okay, and let's see if it boot up. Now this one should be Back to Future, but I don't know from plug and play directly that would it have Marquee support. I don't know. I don't remember. Whenever I like image, I burn it and I don't look at it for a while, so I don't remember. I'm going to plug both of this cable back in. The network cable. I mean, not the network cable, but the USB cable and the controller. Actually, I don't need a keyboard, but I forgot which one is which. So that one's that. I went and plugged in both of the. I plugged in both of this two back in here, and now it's booting up. So this one is the Back to Future. Now there's another one that I have, which is this is a very old way of booting up, which is this is using Raspberry Pi 3B Plus and Western Digital, and it's also a 1 terabyte, and there is a SD card here, 128 gig. So this is a Hyperspin that when it first came out. So this is the image that I use for 1 terabyte. So this is actually pretty cool. It turned out I find out that none of them will boot up without the SD card. So, but you could put all your images, burn it on a bigger hard drive, and then you could add stuff to it, and then you still have to copy the boot up partition file into here, and it doesn't have to have any kind of special boot up. You just get a SD card and copy the file from here to here, and that's it, and then just pop it in and it should work. That's all you have to do. You don't have to do any kind of special partition or anything to make it work. Now this one for some reason is taking a while to load. Oh, you know what, I plug in these two cables too quick. I should have let it boot up first before because when it first booting up, it still doesn't know which one is the hard drive. So let me go ahead and power it off and power back on without neither of the cable. And the controller I'm using is something I built my own using a 3D printer, and just has something to hold it and put on my lap. But eventually I'm going to put it on a cabinet, so that way each one will have its own marquee built. Like Back to the Future, I was thinking about putting a Back to the Future bezel, not bezel, but the artwork for the cabinet. Yeah, so now Back to the Future is booting up fine. See, so you need to have nothing plugged in first, let it boot up. When it asks for a controller, then you plug it in, your controller, everything. Otherwise, you will run into the same problem I'm running into, and that is because it doesn't know which USB is your hard drive. Now, there might be a particular one that you need to plug in, but let's see. Maybe if I plug into a correct one, it will not have this issue. So this one's a USB 3 and USB 2. So I assume the USB 1 is on the top. See right here it say USB 2, and here say USB 3. So I assume the bottom one is the 3, 2, 3. No. Unless this one is 1, 2. No idea. But anyway, I'll do some research and I'll put it down. What is the? You might have to I think if you put it in the right port, then it will boot up without have to unplug everything. But once it boot up, you don't have to like Once it boot up, like if you don't have a controller plug-in, the automatic will ask for it. Raspberry Pi will automatically ask you for the controller setup, and that's when you're going to go ahead and plug in the controller. Hold the button. I think I plugged the keyboard instead. Let me unplug that and plug the correct one. I don't need the keyboard anymore. You just unless you, I have the network directly plug in as well. Sorry, I have the network. The blue one is the network. So the network plug in. I'm just plugging one cable right now, and I want to know if Marquia will work, but I don't think this one support Marquia as well. If it does, you have to probably turn it on. I think Raspberry Pi does support it. You just have to. Alright, so it recognized my controller already. So this one, the images look like this. It's pretty cool. And a Marquia image to display. So there's nothing there on this one. Okay, so that's pretty much end of this video. I did try, as you can see, I did try to update the boot up software, and that didn't help. Apparently after all the, you know, trying this, trying that, it looked like it doesn't work. So I'm trying to download another Wolfstan's image 1 terabyte, and I'm also downloading the Dreamcast, because I do want to have a cabinet that's dedicated to Dreamcast only, that you play nothing but Dreamcast. So I have so many cabinets that it doesn't make sense to put everything on it. I probably will do 1 or 2 of those with everything on it, the full build and a small cabinet, and then the rest of them I'm going to dedicate like PlayStation, Sega Genesis, home console, TurboGrafx, Dreamcast, and fighting game only. And then old classic, just use 4-way joystick with the pinball, not pinball, but the other one. And also I want to build a pinball machine. So I got a lot of stuff that is in my to-do list that I want to do, and also I want to take the Neo Geo arcade stick and make it better, and then move it into a arcade 1-up cabinet, so the joystick will merge with the arcade 1-up. So that's something I want to do, and that will be probably coming up with a YouTube video. Alright, thank you for watching, and if you liked what you hear, what you see, please subscribe. That will help my channel, and that will help me to, in the future, if I get more people subscribe, I could get free stuff, and then I could test those things and let you know what I think and how to get it working. So I appreciate you watching, and I'll talk to you later. Be safe. Bye bye.